Welcome back to 20 Life Learners. Our speaker for today is Loyiso Mbere. She is a multifaceted, multinational globe trotter. She's passionate about travel, philanthropy, and is an advocate for mental health. She describes herself as a compilation, a black, bisexual woman who is also an introverted leftist with depression. Loyiso will take us through her journey of self discovery by unpacking her early life and how she's become the person she is today. She will also focus on how it's okay not to be okay and helps you to not put yourself under so much pressure to be or do just one thing.
The other day I saw a quote that says, "Life is so subtle sometimes that you barely notice yourself walking through the open doors you once put open." And that made me take a step back, because I was like, that's actually so true. Like, you always go through life thinking that you need to do this and achieve this and follow the dreams of your mom or your parents or whatever your parents want you to do. Whereas, like, you also need to celebrate like the small wins. So basically, that's the premise of this presentation, is literally that, like, the art of not knowing, the simple art of just not knowing, but being comfortable with the fact that you don't know what's going to happen in your life, but you still celebrate those small wins and, congratulate yourself along the way. So I just thought this was a little bit funny because in 2010, Loyiso took a picture of or someone took a picture of me walking across the field, and I made this quote. But it's also quite fitting for this. So once in a while, right in the middle of an ordinary life, like love gives us a fairy tale. Literally, it's literally that when the things that we don't expect to give us the most value in life are the things that give us the best that we can ever really achieve. Now, the beginning. A couple weeks ago, I saw this. We need to normalize bisexual, introverted, leftist, former gifted children with depression who drink iced coffee and sleep till noon. When I say this dragged me for filth, like, this is the definition of me and who I am. I am now bisexual. I am kind of introverted. I'm an introverted extrovert. I'm depressed. The former gifted children part really got me the most, because that is something that has kind of hindered me, especially in my university career, is like how good I was before, how I could achieve this and this, and now it just doesn't feel like I'm achieving it maybe at the same rate or just even at all. So to give you a little background, that's little Loyiso when she was horse riding. I used to do a lot when I was younger. I used to horse ride, rowing, netball, used to play the piano, saxophone, violin. Like, I exceeded in all of those. I also, on top of that, exceeded in academics. So like, just that instant gratification is what I thought at that time was, I guess you can say, happiness. The mere fact that I was getting a distinction in saxophone meant that I was making my mom happy, which then in turn made me happy, because then I'm gonna go to ECT and just, yeah, the pressure that I put on myself and the fact that I also did achieve was something that I didn't have to struggle or grapple with until now. But the funny thing about this is that was um, although I was like successful in this aspect of life, like horse riding, saxophone, all of that, and academics, I still didn't necessarily fit in. So, coming from Botswana and going to Saints, it's not like I was the only Black person, because there were obviously other Black people, but there was a lot of difficulty with me fitting in, especially with people of color, because it was felt as if, like, maybe I felt it as well, but like, I didn't fit in. I wasn't Black enough. I didn't speak Vernac. I didn't speak Xhosa Zulu. So now I didn't feel like I really fit into any direct group. and I always found myself like the outsider. But in saying this, it's funny because I was accepted by like other groups, but because just just because of stereotypes and just the way in which or taught in which the world should work, I was trying to find a lot of a lot of comfortability with people who didn't even deserve an acceptance from people who didn't even deserve my presence. And this I only came to the realization of this when I went on exchange, where I was the only Black person in the grade. Actually, in the school, there was another Indian boy in my grade, but like there was. I mean, obviously in Australia there's racism, so we can't say, oh, there wasn't anything there, no one saw race, because they did. But in that moment, I was put into a situation where I could no longer be with people who I felt like I needed to fit in because of culture, because of this. Like these are completely different people, and in the end, I did fit in. So that was one of the turning points in my life where it was like, oh, actually, I don't need to force myself to be friends with the whatevers because I think that they're gonna benefit me. Yeah. So, and this is also a little cute picture of me and my friends. We were called the Salads, which is weird. Anyways, um, so who am I? I still don't know. I'm half Botswana, half South African. I've struggled with my nationality and my identity because people always tell me like, well, you've lived in South Africa for most of your life, so you're not really from Botswana. So it's kind of like erasing my Botswana heritage because I don't speak Setswana fluently, and it's even different to like Botswana in South Africa. Like just the mere fact that I don't fit into those brackets has made me struggle a lot with just that identity between Botswana and South Africa. Black Lives Matter because they always do, and I'm Black. But I've also, for a very long time, because of the microaggressions, because of the people, the friendship groups that I didn't necessarily fit into at that time, like I was always like, for I can pretty much say my whole high school career, 90% of my friends were not people of color, so they were white, and that was completely fine. But then there was certain things like going to a white school, certain microaggressions. Like I started hating my hair. I started doing this. Like it's not as a result of these people, but it's just I needed to. There have been times where my mom has even said to me, "Oh my gosh, you're so white. You only listen to white music. You do this." So like I've had to um, identify myself with blackness and what it truly means to be my sort of black. I don't need to be the black that I think will give me acceptance, but yeah. I've also learned, I slipped into it, but I've now learned that I'm bisexual. We'll see what happens in the future, but this kind of encompasses who I am. I'm an introverted bisexual Black person who's from two different countries, so I'm an international gal. The one thing that I struggled with in all of that, in all of my identity politics and my identity issues, is like especially with Black families and brown families, they don't believe in mental health, mental illness. Like you're just being ungrateful. Like how can you go to Saints, such a good school, get A's and still be depressed? That was the biggest thing. And coming into university, I didn't have my shit together. I decided to study something. I mean, I still kind of am, but more my choice. But I decided to study something that I knew would make my parents happy. I knew I was kind of good at it, like, okay, maths, cool, you know. Um, but in that, I was really struggling. I was super depressed. I couldn't get out of bed, like, rock bottom. Then I decided one day, because seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist is such a huge thing. Like, are you are really sick, you know? So back in the day, I was like, okay, let me just um, make a vision board and meditate once, and my depression is over. And that's literally what I did. Beginning of the year, made a vision board. I was like, okay, this year I'm going to do this. I achieved one thing out of my vision board, which is still an achievement. But um, yeah, shit happens. But what this made me realize is that you might think that you might think that one thing shouldn't be part of your journey, but you don't realize how badly you need it until you do it. So because I didn't realize I was depressed, and I didn't know that I needed therapy, and actually when I was doing the vision boards, just like to actually um, speak it into existence and stuff, like I didn't know I needed to do that until I slipped, and then I fell into deep depression and I fell into therapy. And that is one of the biggest things that it scared me, because I thought I was a failure. I thought I was the biggest failure, and which is so weird, because now looking at all of these presentations and listening in, I found that especially the people who I've like looked up to, like for instance, Sunena is one person who shook me to the core when she told me about her whole, well, when she presented about that, because here I was thinking like, no one at Saints is going through the same thing as me. Like so just yeah, it's such a nice thing that um, we are able to see through this, that we're not the only ones going through it. Asking for help is okay. That's one thing that I don't like to do, because my pride is there. But yeah, just this. If there's one thing that I want to leave with this presentation, is that like it's literally okay not to be okay. You are not the only one going through it. So just do it. Even if it's just the first step and making a vision board, do it. Um, so this picture is about, so I actually have a tattoo now. And the tattoo is basically about this. And when I was in hospitals, I went to a mental institution, and when I was there, we had to obviously do different forms of therapy, and one of the forms was through art. And we had to paint. We had to take 3 colors and just paint whatever we wanted. And the first thing that came to mind was painting a sunrise or a sunset. What we not too sure, still debatable, but one of the two. And then after we painted it, we had to go into class and ask people to interpret like what it meant. And this is I want to say this is what I drew, because I'm so talented, but it's close. And so what people had said, and I had never thought about it that way, but they had said like it seemed as if I was struggling, so I was the brown dark in the background, and now I'm becoming like brighter, and I'm the sunrise, I'm rising over, and the birds are coming because I'm soaring, flying. um, but I just thought that was such a weird thing that happened, because after I felt like I was in rock bottom, um, I pretty much almost immediately got one of the best jobs that I've had, and it's just weird to think. It's just weird to think that that life is like that. It's a roller coaster ride. You can never just stay at the top. You're always gonna have like bottoms and tops. So just soar, fly, go over that hill. It might take a little bit of time, own race, own pace, but you got it. Okay, so new year, new career. I have done everything. In terms of working, I like money, but I like to make money for myself. So I've done different things. I've tried modeling. I've tried promotions. On the left you can see I was promoting fragrances. And then I've worked in travel. I've worked as a waitress. Like there've been so many different things that I've done. But I found that in that I thought, when I was doing it, I thought, oh my gosh, this girl doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know what she wants to study. She doesn't know what industry she wants to be in. Like she's just hopping and changing and chopping and changing. And I really felt so insecure about that. Except for now, where I found that actually it's a good thing. I can be a jack of all trades, you know? I can diversify myself. I don't have to specialize in one thing. And also in doing that, I can find what I want to do in the end. So that's how we get back to the simple art of just not knowing. Like I haven't known, I still don't know, but in that I'm slowly but surely finding my way, and it's making me like so happy just going through this journey. Um, there's a quote, a saying that I want to show next. And basically, we've always been told half of the quote, but we've never been told the full thing. So, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. So, like people make it seem when they're like, oh, you're a jack of all trades and a master of none, it means like, it kind of like, it has kind of like a negative connotation. Now, looking at it like this, and then looking at my life and how it's been, it falls, all into place where it's like, okay, fine, like that just means I'm gonna be good at everything. I don't need to be good at one thing. So yeah, like that's the one thing that another thing that I want to stress is learn it all. There's so much to learn. If you can, do it. So yeah, if you can find yourself, do it, and trust me. If that means that sometimes the way in which the world works, like you can't do things willy nilly. You can't just take a gap year because your family can't afford it or whatever. But if you are given or afforded that opportunity, even if it's for a month or 2 months, and you're able to take that break, even a December break, instead of going and interning for that whole holiday, then travel by yourself, to an Airbnb. Just learn to love yourself and learn to find yourself, because trust me, it's beautiful and it's a beautiful journey. Okay, thanks.
Thank you to this week's Life Learner. Please stay tuned for our next video.